All right, folks, good afternoon. And it is time for the Marketplace Show Reset. And I'm joined by my colleagues who are broadcasting from the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. And I'm excited today to be able to just hang out with these beautiful ladies today as usual. But I hope wherever you are safe and you're having a productive day so far. And we welcome and thank you for being part of the Marketplace Show Reset. This is segment number 1 on health, wellness, and lifestyle. We come to you each and every weekday at 12:30, bringing you all of the information to equip you so you can be knowledgeable, informed as you traverse throughout the day about your daily life, daily business, and hopefully the information that we provide you with is useful and you're able to apply and put it to good use. Ladies, good afternoon. How are you guys doing today?
Doing very well. Very well.
Good afternoon, Anthony and Linda. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So
it's a little rainy up here. We always like to give the weather report. Hope it's beautiful, sunny someplace on the planet, maybe where you are. Here it's
you always start first. I just want you to know that you always start first. Okay. I don't want to rub it in, but it's paradise. This is America's Caribbean. It's paradise. So,
and rightfully so. This is the United States Virgin Islands. So we should take care of our paradise. We should provide everything that you need. And we're glad that Fred did not do any major destruction down there.
Fred is harmless. Fred is harmless. Yeah, Fred. I know Fred. Okay. I know Fred. Fred and I we're good pals. I said, Fred, not this time. I'll talk to you later. Come back another time.
Yeah, you've had a lot of different folks that you've known down there, and they haven't been so kind, but we're glad this time it passed right over pretty much. Yeah, we're glad for that.
Yeah.
Because we got other things to worry about, like the pandemic that's still here.
Well, if it was just that, we would be worrying about is you would be safe, say fine. The world is in peril. Okay, it's in peril because we have so many moving forces sort of colliding together. Mm-hmm. And I often hear people, the old timers, the folks who are biblical in nature, always say these are signs of the times. It's Armageddon. Mm-hmm. The world is ending because of all of these colliding forces. And I often remind people, I said, listen, I don't know it all, but I'm a student, right? And when you're a student, you're apt to learn what you need to learn. I've read not to be able to say that I know the Bible back and forth or to rehearse the scriptures. I just want to know myself. So I spend time. And the consistent theme is, okay, based on what the scripture says, that no man, no woman will know the time nor the day in which I will come. And all the signs that people are saying that he's coming, then that contradicts that. He says, I will come as a thief in the night. You will not know when I come. And so when people say, oh my God, he's coming, it contradicts the word. Okay? And I often say, as old as the earth is, there's nothing new under the sun. That's right. No event, no anything is new. We've been here before. Maybe you were not alive then, but we've been here before. And the resiliency of humanity is defined by history and what we've been through to allow us to be able to survive each and every century that we've gone through.
Well, we're 100 years. Okay, so all that was just remarkably profound. And that kind of hits home a little bit. You're absolutely right. Love the preaching, love the word, and love the lesson that you just provided us, Pastor Anthony. I'm going to tell you this.
No. We have a new calling on our life now. One more time.
But it is all tied in. We do know that there's something that's going on that just seems remarkable. And maybe it's a societal, it's a earth correction. Good grief. We have 1 week, we have billionaires who have the financial wherewithal from, their careers, their businesses to fly into the heavens. and just go for what, 19 minutes, 20 minutes, just a joyride for a couple of $1 billion that could otherwise, frankly, be remarkably shared and spent to eradicate diseases around this world, eradicate homelessness around this world, eradicate poor water quality around this world, eradicate low and uneducated people around this world. And, everyone gets a choice as to how they want to spend their money. But we have that side. Then we have the side that we look at the recent news and what happened this week in Afghanistan, and the desperation that people felt to actually cling to a United States Air Force cargo plane and fly into the skies. Either that was a suicide mission or there was something remarkably hopeful in that madness, that they would be able to escape what they felt was pandemonium and what was getting ready to happen. And, whether you're on the side of the United States president or you're not, I personally, in my politics, do not find any fault or blame. That's Linda Dorman. And I'm speaking and share that with others. Everyone can have their opinion, because this is a long time coming. $2 trillion spent, 20 years investing time, energy, effort, many lives lost, and quality training. This was a great opportunity to be the country of Hiroshima. And after the bomb went down in Japan, another Japan. I mean, what can we say? And then we have this thing called the Delta variant and other variants that are coming up, and COVID is still with us. And now we're about to have many school systems open up. Some have already opened up and closed up.
You forgot one. You forgot one.
Uh-oh.
The 7.2 earthquake in Haiti.
And the 7.2 earthquake. And I guess we should add the whole entire flood and tsunami over in Turkey.
10 years from the last time it happened.
Oh, that's true. Was it near the 10th year anniversary?
Yeah.
That more profound?
This is the 10th hallmark in the 10th year since the last time they were devastated by a major earthquake.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot going on.
Yeah, we do have a lot to contend with, and we're going to do our part, right? We're going to do the best to do our part to bring forth information that we believe that are invaluable information to you, the public, the viewing and listening public, because we think if you have the information, then you have the ability to choose. When you don't know, when you don't have the information, you really don't have a choice. You're just going with whatever it is.
That's right.
Once you're given an option, you then choose based on the information that gives you the knowledge to choose the best course, the best path for you and your family. And this is what we try to do each and every week on the Health, Wellness, and Lifestyle segment here on the Marketplace Show Reset.
And ladies, and Yvette and I, just so for the listener and beauty audience, we go deep in, once we lock in on a topic, we go deep in reading and researching and understanding and talking. So we're not bringing to you opinion. We are bringing to you that information that may not have actually been there and may not have been a part of your daily conversation or your news read, because we care about you. We care about our own families and our own community and those that we've been talking to through this program to get that information that's really necessary and needed. So it's highly credible. We trust it. We trust it for our own family, and we share it along with some opinion to help you make your decisions around your own health care.
You see what you started?
You see what you started?
You see what you started?
Oh, Pastor Tony. Oh, yes.
You see what you started? You are a troublemaker. You are a troublemaker, Linda.
I'm going to piggyback on what Anthony said about information, though. Information is power. So look at it as a chance for you to take control of your health, your family's health, and do something about it. Oftentimes we're in situations where people feel powerless. They say, well, I can't do anything about it, or it is what it is, but this doesn't have to be what it is. You have a chance right now with the information we're providing to empower yourself to make a wise decision.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all
Absolutely.
faced it. I mean, Yvette, you're a clinical expert on the team. I've seen it from policy and advocacy and management. And Tony, you've just got the think tank and the cerebral mindset that gets us into the whole space. And we've all had to face our own decisions. It took me a long time, but finally I got on board to make sure that my children, both teenagers, 16 and now getting ready to turn 15, are vaccinated so they can interface, so I can be clear that they're going to be safe. And now what do we have? We have this, and I'm vaccinated, and I did not have any major side effects, just the normal, what they shared, a little bit of headache, a little bit of fatigue, but a whole lot of confidence and a whole lot of reassurance and a lot of stress off of my shoulders because I could. Last week we had on the show the president, CEO, and founder from the Greater Cincinnati African American Heart Association, who is a heart transplant recipient. And she made a very good point that those who are immune compromised may not always be able to get the vaccine. So we wanted to do a little bit of research on what that actually meant and who could and who couldn't and who has. So, it is a choice, and we respect that, and we understand that pause button until we get more information. We have had, research prevails and says that there is not one issue with getting the vaccine as an immune compromise. It may not necessarily become as effective as those of us who do not have or have what we would think to be normal immune systems. And so it may not be the 2 doses that individuals would receive. I don't know. Tell us a little bit more, Yvette. What are your thoughts on that?
If you are immune compromised, that does not mean you cannot receive the vaccine. What that means is your side effects have a tendency to be a little worse than others, but I encourage you to still take the vaccine. What Sandra was expressing was that no one has been able to share with her that if she receives the vaccine, that nothing physically would happen to her. Well, they haven't guaranteed that for us either. There are side effects that are simply going to take place with the vaccine. And if you're immune compromised, I encourage you more than others to get the vaccine, since we know that the COVID virus attacks the immune system. I can speak from my own experience here. About maybe 2 weeks ago, I took my daughters to Vegas, one vaccinated and one not vaccinated. The unvaccinated one tested positive for COVID, and it was the Delta variant. What? The one that was vaccinated and myself, we've had no symptoms whatsoever, and we've tested negative twice since we've been home for the COVID vaccine. So the vaccines do matter. Being immune compromised means your body is already at risk to fight off any infection. So just imagine being infected with this coronavirus and you can't even really fight off a common cold. You're really going to be in trouble. So I just encourage you to take the vaccine, and definitely you would be a candidate for the 3rd booster. Now, they announced this morning that we would all be candidates for the 3rd booster coming September. And I'm sure we're going to get into that discussion. So I won't talk about that too much right now. I'm going to stay with the topic of immune compromised people receiving the vaccine. It is possible for you to receive the vaccine. So whether you're immune compromised or you feel like, you're healthy as a horse, as they say, you still need to get the vaccine. And I encourage you to do so.
And I ditto that. And I ditto also to make sure that you're working side by side to your physician that knows your full health history, and therefore will know the most advantageous time in the evolution of whatever you're suffering from or your chronic disease, so that you're not further impacted. I think it's true that we have to look at the vaccine as a solution versus something that's going to further create harm. And I think a lot of people don't have that distinction top of mind, that if this is going to create harm simply because the FDA has not approved it and we're all in some giant trial. Yes, we are. And that's okay, because we are surviving, and we have knowledge that those who are vaccinated are not immune from getting COVID. They're immune from the dire scenario and the outcome and the results. We've seen this time and time again. We're hearing it in the news over and over and over. And Yvette, I'm just going to keep your daughter lifted up in prayer. They're beautiful young ladies. And I am, I know you as a nurse are watching like a hawk to see how this is progressing.
Absolutely. And she's doing well so far, I must say. But Linda, I just want to piggyback real quick on this FDA approval, because this has been going through the press. And working for pharma as many years as I have, there is a process to a drug becoming FDA approved. They push through the temporary approval of it to get it out there. But it now has to go through the regular process like every other drug. Keep in mind, there are thousands of drugs that are waiting for FDA approval, and this vaccine is in line with the rest of them. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. It doesn't mean that the government's put something in it and all the other rumors that are going on. It just simply means it's in line with the rest of the drugs for FDA approval. If they push these vaccines forward for final approval ahead of the other drugs, then there may be some repercussions behind that. The president could step in and say, okay, approve this now, push everything else aside. But understand there's other diseases that are just as important to other people that need their medications approved. So it's a time process, and it is a process that has to be taken legally through the federal regulations.
And that's a good point. And we don't want to, well, let me just say this. Can I just say two things? One of those other drugs, as you've said, is Alzheimer's drugs. That's now having a lot of buzz and a lot of opportunity for discussion in the media. And that's just as critical as the other thousands plus. And I think when we talk about rushing, I think that's the word that people get stuck on. And, we're not stuck on. Those of us who know the healthcare process, who know this approval process, know that the technology has always been there. This is SARS-CoV number 2. So there must have been a SARS-CoV number 1. And this technology allows for this more rapid development of this vaccine. And we've communicated this, that, very, very simple fact in a very complex pharmaceutical environment many, many times. And to allay concern that this has just popped up from nowhere. It has been thought through. It has obviously been taken into consideration, the efficacy and the safety protocols, and clearly it is working. So, Tony, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Here is what I'm noticing. There's a trend I'm noticing. Those who are opposed to being vaccinated for whatever justifiable reason they think they have, I noticed that every time someone say they are against it, oppose it, until they get sick.
Right.
After they get sick is when they have a reckoning and said, you know what? I should have had a different position on this. Mm-hmm. And it always reminds me of folks who, human beings by nature, we resist change. That's just in our DNA. We don't like to change anything. The minute you tell somebody they got to change their ways, you're going to get pushback. Yeah. You're going to get pushback, resistance right away. And people don't like to be told what to do. And so in the process of deciding whether you do or you don't, that is your right, that is your choice. But I find it very interesting how it's like people only go to church every Easter. All of the rest of the year, they're not going to church. But, it's like ceremony, ritual, tradition, whatever you want to call it. Everybody goes to church on Mother's Day and on Christmas and Easter, right? Those are the three big church days.
Holidays.
The rest of the year, they're not going, right? And people are only forced to do something, or they only succumb to doing something, is when their back is against the wall. If you let people, you give them free will, most of the time they're going to say, no, I'm not. Okay? The coming to Jesus moment only happens when, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Mm-hmm. I no longer have control. I no longer have power over the situation, and all of a sudden now they find Jesus. I'm just whether it's scriptural, whether it's what you call it, secular, it doesn't matter. It's those people. It's like during the time when under the Donald Trump presidency, right? Either you were for him or you were against him. That's it. There was no gray area. There was no, you were either for Donald Trump or you're against Donald Trump. There was no wiggle room, right? The vaccine is no different. People are going to have their prejudice, their rightful decision not to do it for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, I noticed that every anti-person, the latest governor Abbott of Texas,
yes,
was anti this, anti that. And he said, you know what, I'm vaccinated. And he said, you know what, I'm glad I'm vaccinated, because if I didn't have the vaccine, he said my situation would have been really, really bad, because he caught the Delta variant.
And he's also an anti-masker.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that the court system in Texas, they've come up with a way to go around his law. They have now made mask a part of the dress code.
Correct.
So that people have to wear them, because the governor's like, you don't need to wear a mask. What are you wearing the mask for?
Look at some of these comments.
If you have somebody in leadership with that kind of attitude, then it trickles down into the public.
Right. Here's some comments. Here's for people in radio land, they can't see the television, obviously we're on television, but they can't see the remarks coming in from social media. George says, why anyone with good sense failed to be vaccinated. Back in high school in Jersey, we were given vaccines. So we were given vaccine every year with a what is that? A darn gun from the nurse's office.
From the nurse's office. That's right. And let me say this. As the mom of a high schooler, I had one vaccine that my child needed, and she skirted around. We skirted around it all year long, because I thought, well, surely she's up to date. I mean, who am I? I mean, of course I'd have my child's vaccines up to date. They sent me a letter saying, well, that's wonderful. She's not, and she's not getting in school this coming fall. So there it is. So I had no choice but to go through the task of getting the doctor's appointment, making sure she, as it turns out, they were right and I was wrong. My records were not correct. And we got the vaccine for meningitis. So, when I looked at that sheet of all her vaccines, I thought, why are we right now in this part of our history doubting the potential of what this is going to do for us? This is why we continue to have new variants show up. But in addition to the vaccine, this whole mask mandate is really, really, really getting under my skin in some of these states. I'm going to share that with you because I'm terrified of my child going back to school. And Yvette, we just had this conversation this morning. You too have a teenager. I mean, it's challenging.
Yeah, and Yvette, I know you want to say something, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. So there are those who in the bucket of anti-vaccine, and usually the same people that are anti-vaccine are anti-mask, right? Like Governor Abbott of Texas, right? You don't need to wear any mask. Now, the line of defense I hear from those who oppose vaccine is, I don't want anything to go into my body. Don't put anything into my system, and I don't know what it is you're putting in my system. Now, before the vaccine were made available, people were, vehemently against mask wearing, right? They had all kinds of reasons why a mask shouldn't be worn. And the mask is no one is putting anything in your body. You're just being told to shield, because the mask is a shield. Wear a mask, not only to protect yourself, but to protect your neighbor, your family member, your loved ones, your friends, your coworker. That's what it's for. So how do you peg the two, where you're either an anti-mask person, anti-vaccine, and it's usually the same suspect that are anti-vaccine or anti-mask. One is a vaccine that goes into your body, but these are the same people, because I remember people were saying that the wearing of the mask was a conspiracy. The mask, wearing the mask was part of a grand conspiracy. So go figure. Ladies, explain this to me, please.
I'm gonna punt that over to Miss Yvette, because I've got a lot to say on that, and I think we don't have a lot of time for me to just go off on the deep end. So I'm the self-inflicted genocide. Larry Sewer, don't get me started, because he and I have the same comment. So I'm punting over.
I'm coming for you, Linda, because we want to hear your comments. But for those that say they don't want to put anything into their body, I want you to get up and go in your kitchen and grab a container of margarine, anything. Tell me if you understand what's on that label that you're putting into your body. We put more junk into our bodies when we eat and don't even realize it, because nobody takes the time to read the label. That stuff is more dangerous than this vaccine. And when I was talking briefly about the pharmaceutical approval, I forgot to mention that if the FDA finds something wrong with the vaccine, they go back to the makers and they say, we saw this, this, and this. You have 3 weeks to fix this and resubmit it. So, there's a reason for the process, and that's why it takes so long. But back to these anti-maskers.
Hold on, didn't that happen with Johnson & Johnson?
Absolutely. They have to be transparent. There's a law of transparency. If there was anything wrong, we would know it by now. And you're absolutely right, Linda. They did expose everything they found with Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca.
That's correct. So the mask.
So back to the mask. When you go into your doctor's office and he says, or the nurse says, please get undressed, the doctor will be right in. We take off our clothes and we put on that gown and we sit on the table. You don't even know if this person really has a medical degree. It happens sometimes. People are not always honest, but you trust that that person is who they say they are. It's no different with this mask. We put the mask on because it protects you. It is proven that the mask works. If you've ever had surgery or when you've gone to the dentist before this pandemic, the dentist had on a mask. When you have surgery, they have on a mask because it's for your protection. This time, it's no different. That mentality, honestly, Anthony, to me, is just the spirit of rebellion. People are just in straight rebellion. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm not going to allow you to tell me what to do. And so I'm not putting on this mask and I'm not taking the vaccine.
And they followed the leader. And we know where this all began. And we know that it was just another way of politicizing something around common sense. That's what it gets my blood boiling. And
Oh, absolutely. But let's look at New Zealand. Right. They're shutting down the whole country for one case of COVID. One case. Just one. They're not playing around. They're like, no, this will not take over our country. You do not see the people in the streets protesting and saying what they're not going to do over there. It's only in the USA that you see this huge rebellion. And I could speak to that all day as to why that is. But these, some of these prime ministers are taking this very serious, and therefore so are their people. As Linda said, it has a lot to do with the leadership.
And not only does it that leadership, that societal norm around what does compliance really mean as it aligns with and works in parallel with personal individual rights. Somehow we find in the US we're always combative around what personal rights really mean when there is a governmental mandate, even for our best good, and so we have to get into this. We have to get past this societal notion that our government is the worst thing for us. It may not necessarily, we have to work with the government. We have to obviously be governed by the government. We elect our officials, so be very careful who you're electing up and down the ballot that has these bizarre ideologies around these issues that we have already proven in history. We've already proven that vaccines that are developed and made can eradicate the kinds of diseases like polio. We have a vaccine. I suffered for 12 weeks with shingles. Can you imagine if I had and if you've ever had shingles, it's very painful. So now we have a shingles vaccine. You can go to the local drugstore and get it from the local clinic. No big deal. We have a pneumonia vaccine. We have the kind of tools medically, the biomedical innovations that actually work. And so When I think about my family, I can't protect them from everyone. I cannot protect them from everyone, but I can ask that people around us be vigilant as much as I'm being vigilant, because I care about their families. You care about your families. Get your masks on, people. Get your vaccines, people, and be very considerate of what and who is around you that don't shame them, encourage them to do the same. That's my big time message, to kind of calm my nerves, because I'm fired up on this subject.
Yes.
So for me, it's the vaccine is just one issue, and vaccine is part of science, and you're either going to trust science or you're not. Okay, and let me put it in layman's term, right? Every time I book a flight and I go on an aircraft, okay, I enter that aircraft and I strap myself in, because I was told you put on your seatbelt because it's there to protect you. And you go in there, you don't know the pilot, you never met the pilot, you have no relationship with the pilot, but you're going to put your life,
that's right,
in the hands of someone you've never met. You have no idea what they were doing an hour before, 5 minutes before. You don't know anything about that person, but you're going to go and sit in an aircraft in a metal tube.
That's right.
Flying 35,000 feet into the air. And guess what? Every time you go on an aircraft, there's no guarantees that you're going to come back down safely. None. There's no guarantees. You trust the process. You trust the fact that the companies behind them, you trust the data, you trust the science that says that aircraft, when I get on that aircraft, I'm going to get safely from point A to point B. You have no control, none whatsoever, whether or not they've maintained the aircraft, how often they maintain the aircraft. You have no control of any of that, but you're trusting your life in someone to get you from point A to point B. And when you notice, whenever there's an incident on an aircraft and there's turbulence and the mask falls from the ceiling of the aircraft, they say, put on your mask first.
Right.
Don't try to help anybody else first, because you're no good to anyone if you're unconscious. You got to put on your mask first in order to be able to help the person next to you on the aircraft. It is that simple. It's not complicated, guys. And I don't know why we're making this thing so complicated. Either you trust science or you don't. You can't say you trust science in one breath and don't trust science in the other breath. It's just, you can have this nonsensical debate and argument till the cow comes home, right? But at the end of the day, let's have an intelligent conversation. Let's not start going off on the deep end about conspiracy and this and that, and no. Let's stick to the science and what the science says. You got to trust science. You can't trust science for one thing and not trust science for something else. Either you trust science.
And let's be clear, everyone is not a scientist, but everyone right now seems to believe that they have a lot of scientific background and knowledge to make some kind of remarkable decision that is so counter to what the real scientists are sharing with us. And we know there's been a lot of mistrust.
Okay, Yvette, you're going to have to repeat this, because look at this comment here. Look at this comment coming from Mike Burns. Take a look at that. You just spoke to this issue. Just spoke to this issue. Maybe Mike was not listening, but if you could be so kind, just in a very synopsis way, explain to Mike what you just said.
Have a response from Mike.
Hi, Mike. Mike, the vaccine has temporarily been approved by the FDA, which is why it's available for us to talk. That final approval is in the process right now. Had they found anything at all during that time when they were trying to initially establish it, it would not be out there if it was not safe. The FDA has a responsibility. They are legally bound by what they're allowed to approve to go into our bodies for our good. So yes, the vaccine has been temporarily approved by the FDA. Therefore, it is safe for you to take.
And let's be mindful. It's been approved since December. Yes. And guess who was first in line to get the vaccine shots. It wasn't you and me.
Yes.
It was our elected officials, particularly the ones coming out of the White House. They left with their shots. So we have our first responders, our healthcare workers. We would not have done anything to impact these individuals if the FDA was corrupt in the sense that this was going to be the worst thing that we could put into the population. So
and Mike said he just joined, so he apologized. So to make a clear distinction, okay, there's two processes. The EUA, the emergency use authorization, that's an approval process. For emergency use, that's where all the drug companies are right now. All of them are in the EUA process, emergency use authorization. Okay, so that's one approval. The other process that every, like you said earlier, Yvette, that goes through this long process because there are thousands of drugs that have to be vetted to go through this process. And it takes a considerable amount of man hours and resources and time and effort that goes into that. And so if you're going to do a quantum leap from the back of the line to the front of the line, is because of the set of circumstances that warrants why they needed to give an EUA, an emergency use authorization approval, because we're in a pandemic. While the other illnesses are not good, whether it's cancer, heart attack, stroke, whatever it is, they're not good. They're not health crises.
They are health crises.
Yeah,
okay. Not just for the masses. And the other thing about the FDA approval, I really want Mike to understand, is that they have to have so much data when they present. A pharmaceutical company has to have so much data when they go to the FDA. They have to prove that these drugs are effective and they do exactly what they say they will do. If they do not, you will read about it. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist. You can go to biopharma.com and you will read about all the drugs that are up for FDA approval. And if they have not been approved, what the FDA is telling them to do. Sometimes it's go back and bring me another 2 years of data, or I don't like this formula, and so they'll come back with another formula. It can be a simple fix, or it can take years before a drug gets FDA approved. The FDA goes through that with a fine-tooth comb. So it's a good thing while we're waiting for this FDA approval. But as Anthony said, had it not been effective or safe, it would have never received the emergency authorization. They couldn't do that without some idea that this drug was safe.
The efficacy, there was never ever any representation. This was 100%. Never. They said, depend on the drug company and their vaccine, it was either 70-something% all the way up to 95% efficacy. So there's going to always be that percentum, that small percentage of people who are going to have that breakthrough. That for whatever their immune compromise is, it's just too overwhelming to be able for them to be to avoid getting sick or going to the hospital or dying, if you will.
And we should go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, good. So it's let's put things in their proper context, right? Mm-hmm. Efficacy simply states that your chances, it's like the N95 mask. It's called N95 because it literally blocks and guards 95% of the particles and all the stuff that's coming that you're breathing in. The N95 filters out 95% of that. All the other masks don't do that. The N95 filters 95% of all the stuff that you're going to breathe in. And so let's keep things in their proper context. The efficacy, they never did say that it was going to be 100% protection from not getting the virus.
And I can't imagine any drug has 100%. I mean, good grief. And this is just to give a really dramatic perspective. There are many women who get pregnant while taking birth control because birth control is not even, they don't even promote that as well. That's 99, 98%. So there is a percentage of women who are like, I thought I was on birth control. So I'm just giving that as a dramatic comparison that we should have a managed expectation, just like you said, Anthony. And besides, we have had for the FDA approval process, the applications for approval, for final approval, have been made. So we're in the wait and see process right now. And I think we've had this drug out for a substantial amount of time with millions upon millions upon millions, not only in the United States, but around the world in the Caribbean, that there's enough data that has now been collected to be able to go forward with the request for approval. So those applications went in. They can just Google that on the media. But, kind of an interesting tidbit that there are other vaccines besides, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson and Abbott. There are other vaccines that other countries themselves have developed. The Russian has their own vaccine. There are 5 out of China that are being used within those nations and going through their own approval process as well. So people need to understand that we're part of a global vaccine community with more than just these US made or US corporate made vaccine products. So we have a lot of data collected through the World Health Organization for different efficacies around the world, different vaccine products around the world that are working to keep all of us safe. Because one of the things that we wanted to talk about too is the lifestyle around COVID. It's disrupted some things. I'm contemplating, do I go to a party this weekend? Or don't I go to a party this weekend that I've been invited to? That's one thing. Do I get on the airplane and travel like everybody else I see? And Yvette travels all the time, and I applaud her. Or do I stay, still stay on the ground and wait it out a little bit longer? In either one of you, one of us travels, one of us doesn't. Yvette, give us a little bit of your thought process.
Hold that thought. We need to take a quick break.
We need to take a quick break.
When we come back, and we're way overdue, like 10 minutes over our time here for a break. We'll take a quick break. We'll come right back and we'll continue. Folks, you're listening to the Marketplace Reset Show. I'm Anthony Weeks, alongside with the host of the segment number 1 on health, wellness, and lifestyle, Linda Dorman, and of course our clinician, our abled clinician is registered nurse Yvette Wood as the co-host. I'm just a sidekick. I'm the fly on the wall. We'll be right back, folks, after this message.
Right now, 91 million Americans are financially overlooked. 48% have a fear of finance. 2 in 3 lack the ability to manage their finances. We solve this issue by combining financial literacy and financial management into one seamless app. 1. Have your financial goals align with your values. 2. Track your money and forecast how big decisions will impact your virtual accounts. 3. Build financial literacy at your own pace. Our competitors are rigid, disconnected, and impersonal. They represent the old way of doing finance. That's not who we are. We personalize your finances for you because we know one size does not fit all. We're democratizing personal finance. Join the tribe at Core Finance and at Core Finance.
Back
Caught me.
Welcome back to the program. This is the Marketplace Reset Show. We are WSDX Bloomberg. We are Tempo. We are Caribbean American Passport. We are La Mega Mundal. We are Kalalu. We are social media, broadcasting on television, radio. You can catch us at www.jumpstarteconomy.us. That's www.jumpstarteconomy.us. And if you missed the live broadcast of this program, you can watch it later on if you happen to miss the live broadcast. I'm Anthony Weeks, along with my colleagues. Ladies, we're back. So where were we now?
Well, I just got some breaking news while we were at break. And this, ladies and gentlemen, you are entitled to yourself. The name of the website is BioSpace. And so the email came out about the COVID booster shots. It said that Pfizer and Moderna said the recipients of their vaccines would definitely get the booster. However, what they're saying, well, what happened to the 14 million people who received the J&J vaccine? Well, at this point, J&J seems to be the more effective one against the Delta variant, which I said from the beginning that I felt everyone should have the Pfizer or Moderna and the J&J, because even in the test trials, the J&J vaccine seemed to be more effective against the variants than it was the initial COVID. But they are collecting the data right now. But at this point, J&J has not made a decision on whether its recipients would even need to get the booster. So just think about them. They're out getting those vaccines. But we were talking about travel. And
All right. So
that is breaking news. That is very breaking news.
Here is a also talking about news. So it's reporting that indoor vaccine mandate hits cities starting on this was last week Monday. New York City restaurants will require people to be at least partially vaccinated in order to eat indoors at restaurants. The proof of inoculation policy also extends to other indoor activities, including gym, workouts, and attending indoor entertainment venues. City enforcement will begin September 13th. San Francisco will go a step further starting August 20th, requiring patrons to be fully vaccinated to take part in indoors activities, while Los Angeles is considering similar measures to stem the spread of the Delta variant. And I know, Linda, we talked about lifestyle and travel. They have a couple of summer travel COVID-19 about 10 safety tips that I want to share if we can get to that before
and so part of that is not only travel, but entertainment. So what you just described was our local entertainment industries and our local economy. How are we going to keep our economy open? People need to get on board with the vaccine and understand this is part of keeping our economy open. So it's very, 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 very critical that we get, people get vaccinated, but have the proof. Keep your card in your wallet. Keep it in a place where you can access it and make sure that you have it available. And, when we talk about this vaccine pass or the proof of passing, if you will, we hope that we don't see a lot of copycats out there, a lot of, false or fake ID cards and so forth, that we get on board with that too, so that people are honest and they're protecting themselves.
So for Radio Land folks, our audience in Radio Land, Christian Joseph on social media just posted, studies have shown it normally takes 5 years for a vaccine to be approved. And because a vaccine was developed in such a short amount of time, that I believe was very alarming to most people. I do understand the rush to come up with a vaccine, but that still was very alarming to most people, which is fair. I mean, we understand that people will be concerned. People should have concern. But again, let's stick to the data, let's stick to the science, and have an objective, critical conversation based on the facts and the data and the science. That's that's in
the United States. That's not in other parts of the world. That length of time. We're historically
right. Yeah, are you saying that with all certainty that it's 5 years, or are you asking the question?
I'm saying that we do have a length of time, 5 years plus. Right. To be very thorough in our process, not that other nations are not. I'm just saying that we seem to take a longer time
In the US.
in the United States for approval process. And that is part of the mistrust. It's a mistrust. It's a fear. If we can get over those two emotions, then we've got a nation that is going to get
Right.
vaccinated and we're going to
But
move forward.
How often does a pandemic, how often do we experience pandemics? How often do we experience a world health crisis? So these are not normal circumstances. Those are an excellent point that our viewing audience and our listening audience are making. But there are exceptions, and this event is a pandemic, which we understand historically, pandemics happen every 100 years. So you can't approach the process or how you handle this the way you normally control the normal process of submittal and going through the development and approval process. It's extenuating circumstance, a different set of circumstances that warrants and dictate a different approach to how you handle this.
Absolutely. Anthony, let me clarify that statement. The approval process itself does not take 5 years. What I think the person meant to say was they usually spend 5 years collecting the data and running the research on the drug before it's actually submitted for approval. When I've worked on a drug we were waiting for FDA approval, as soon as that paperwork is submitted, the FDA gives you something called a PDUFA date. And that is the prospective date but after that, you'll get your PDUFA date and then you'll know, so we can submit our drug for approval, say April. They'll tell you, I should have this done by September. So these companies do have their PDUFA date. They just haven't shared with us what that is when they're expecting the FDA approval, but they give everybody a PDUFA date of when they expect to approve the drug. So the drug itself, just to clarify, does not take 5 years to get approved. Usually they submit about 5 years of research and data to back up why their drug should be approved.
Okay.
Great distinction.
Yep. Thank you for that, Yvette. And because we're tight on time here. Just so real quickly on the lifestyle front, here are 10 tips when you are contemplating traveling during this time. Number one, know the COVID-19 rate where you live. Number two, assess COVID-19 rates at your destination. Number three, consider your vaccination status and health situation. 4, think about testing around your trip. 5, decide on your mode of travel. 6, don't obsess, but do clean your hotel room. 7, eating in restaurants is likely fine. 8, be smart about your activities. 9, if you're not fully vaccinated, stay vigilant. And number 10, have a good time. You deserve it. What do you say, lady?
You forgot just a couple. If you are flying, okay, it is recommended by physicians that you try to sit within the first 10 rows. The further back on the plane you go, the more crowded it is and the more germs are in the air. And 2, always keep your air on over your head. It's very difficult for germs to settle down on you if air is continuing to flow. The safest place is by the window, because when you're in the aisle, everybody's walking past you with whatever it is that they're carrying and coughing and touching everything. So your safest place is by the window on an airplane. And do use the sanitation wipes that they hand you. I always wipe down the window, the seat, the tray, everything on, that I can with those sanitation wipes that they hand me. And I actually carry my own when I get on an airplane. And the last thing I want to say on that real quick is some places that I know I'm going for business, I will FedEx my can of Lysol to the front desk of the hotel and pick it up when I check in. I go in and I completely spray my room like a fog. Then I'll go out and get something to eat. And when I come back, the room has been completely sanitized. So those are your vet's travel tips.
And don't forget to wear your mask.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we have, and it's interesting. Now we have available in retail self-administered COVID tests. So I would suggest buy a few, stick them in your suitcase, or mail them to yourselves in your destination, and do some self-testing. Understand how that process works. And then if you come up with a positive, test again. You come up with a positive again, seek medical attention where you are. and be vigilant and be safe and be smart around you.
Absolutely. And please remember this Delta variant, it's affecting the younger generation. Hospitalization rates from ages 5 to 17 are going through the roof. 30 to 40 is almost out of control. We are hospitalizing over 10,000 people almost every 7 days with this new Delta variant. It's not hitting like the other variant did. It's affecting the youth and the younger population. So please, 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 if you're a parent or you're between the ages of 5 and 40, wear your mask and be vigilant.
On that note, ladies, time flies when you're having fun, and we're out of time. Ladies, thank you so much. This is Anthony Weeks and
Linda Dorman.
Yvette Wood.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Marketplace Show, segment number 1 on health, wellness, and lifestyle. We'll talk to you next week. Stay safe. Have a good day, folks.